All right, today we're going to look at section 9.1, right triangle trigonometry on day 2. Okay, so our first example today, we're going to find the value of x for the right triangle. And we can see that x is defined here in our right triangle, and we're given the hypotenuse side as 12. So what we don't know is the angle measure. So we're going to look at this angle right here, and this angle is 30 degrees. So if this angle is 30 degrees, in reference to this angle, we know that this side is the adjacent side, and 12 represents the hypotenuse. So if we think of our trig functions and this relationship where we know adjacent over hypotenuse, then that's the cosine function. So the cosine of 30 degrees is equal to x, our unknown side, divided by 12. So now we're just going to solve this for x. So we end up with 12 times the cosine of 30 degrees is equal to x. Okay, so in your calculators, you're able to evaluate cosine of 30 degrees. However, this is going to give you a decimal approximation. Rather than doing that, we'd rather go to your textbook, which has this table in it. And we're going to look at this when we examine our unit circle. But for some special right triangles, we can see the trig functions and what it evaluates to for the different angles. So we see the cosine function, cosine of theta, when theta is 30 degrees, the cosine is square root of 3 over 2. So we're going to plug that in right here. So we're going to end up with 12 times the square root of 3 over 2. And that's equal to x. So when we solve this, 6 times the square root of 3 is equal to x, which if we looked at this in the calculator, this is approximately 10.39. For your homework, we're going to use the table to find the exact answer. Okay, on to our second example. We're solving triangle ABC. Here's triangle ABC. We're given side length B is measured at 13. We're also given angle A measures in at 34 degrees. So when we're solving the triangle, we're looking to find all of the unknown sides and unknown angle. We know angle C is a right angle, so it's 90 degrees. So the angle we don't know is angle B. We know A and B, though, are complementary, so they add up to 90 degrees. So to find angle B, the measure of angle B plus the measure of angle A, which is 34 degrees, has to equal 90 degrees. So when we solve this, measure of angle B is equal to 56 degrees. Next, let's find side A. So we're looking for side A. We know side B, and we're going to use this idea that angle A is 34 degrees. This is our given information. So we want to use our given information rather than what we've just solved for measure B. So if we have the opposite side to the angle and we have the adjacent side to the angle, this ratio represents the tangent of the angle. So we know the tangent of 34 degrees is equal to A divided by 13. So to solve this, we're going to end up with 13 times the tangent of 34 degrees is equal to A. All right, so you're going to need to take and get your calculators because we need to evaluate tangent of 34 degrees with our calculator. So when we plug that into the calculator, we end up with tangent of 34 degrees is approximately 0.675, and we're going to multiply that to 13. So we end up with 8.77. We're going to round to the hundredths place. 8.77 is A. Okay, so the last thing that we need to find when we're solving our triangle is side length C. So if we know our angle is 34 degrees, we have the adjacent side and we're looking for our unknown, which is the hypotenuse, we can set up the ratio of cosine of the angle. Cosine of 34 degrees is equal to 13 divided by c. One possible way to solve this would be multiply c on both sides and then divide both sides by the cosine of 34 degrees. An alternative way would be to set this up where our variable is in the numerator, which is looking at the relationship or the ratio for the hypotenuse divided by the adjacent side. So the hypotenuse divided by adjacent is actually the secant function. So the secant function of 34 degrees is equal to c divided by 13. And so to solve for c, we're multiplying both sides by 13, so 13 times the secant of 34 degrees is equal to c. Now we're going to use our calculator for the secant of 34 degrees, but we have to change this to 1 over the cosine of 34 degrees. So in your calculator, you can evaluate the cosine of 34 degrees and take 1 and divide by that answer. And when you do that, you should end up with approximately 1.21. So it's 13 times 1.21. And we multiply these together. C is going to be approximately equal to 15.68. And there, we've done it. We've solved our triangle. We have the measure of angle B, measure of side A, and side C. The triangle is solved.